Stratford Town Council's regular monthly meeting to order. It's now 4 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone who's here tonight and who's watching on Facebook Live or in the future as a recorded YouTube or what's the other one we use? There's YouTube and there's another one. YouTube's the only one? Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Second item on our agenda is a declaration of conflict of interest. So if any council member or member of staff has a conflict of interest with any of the items we're going to be covering here tonight, please declare so now. If not, we'll go to item number 3, which is approval of the agenda. So are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the order of the agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, the minutes of our regular monthly meeting of July 13th, 2022 are in your package. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to those minutes that are requested by any council member? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes, I guess I didn't do that for the approval of the agenda. Yeah, okay, so I declared it. Any presentations from the floor, Jeremy? No, nobody's given any notice, okay. My report is in your package, item number 7. And just a couple of highlights I'll touch on. I think one of the highlights was the participating in the raising of the pride flag, and thank you to Councillors Gallant, Smith, and McDonald for their participation in that, as well as many staff members were there as well. So thank you for that. Afterwards, Councillor Gallant and I had a great meeting with representatives of the of Pride PEI and with BIPOC. I think it was a very productive discussion. Anything you'd like to add, Councillor Gallant?
No, it was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Sitting around the table.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of follow-up items that I'll be discussing with you, Wendy, and with you, Jeremy. But there are a couple of things that we can do as a town to be maybe more inclusive and to some of the things that they would like to see. And we'll have some follow-up meetings as well to follow up that discussion.
No, it was great. Your mayor was great. You invited them in there, and we had a soft drink. It was great to sit around the table.
Yeah, it was a hot day, eh?
Yeah, it was a hot day, but it was a great opportunity. It's the first time. It's good. Probably the norm. Probably every time we do is
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's a
Yeah,
chance to engage them and have a discussion. So I think that's good.
It was really great.
Second highlight was I was very honored to be part of the ceremony to formally rename Evelyn Meter Park in Kinloch Creek. Again, Councillors Gallant and McDonald were there. Thank you for attending. And it was, as well as several staff members who did a great job in setting that up. Thank you, Wendy and Rachel and everyone who participated in that. It was a really nice ceremony, and the family donated a large piece of land to the town. And it's a beautiful woodland and a beautiful park, so we really wanted to express our appreciation and to formally open the park.
It went over well there. It was great. As chair of recreation, it's nice to see the Meter family donate that, but at the same time, talked to a couple of residents there, and they talked about how well it's used, like 20 to 30 kids a day, so it was great. And it's great that the recreation department and with the Meter family worked together there, and Mrs. Ogden spoke well too, Steve.
Pardon?
Your wife spoke well too.
Yeah, Evelyn Meter was a close friend of her family, so
Yeah.
she was a wonderful resident. And it was a great tribute to her. I was glad to do that. We had 2 public meetings on one on the home occupation bylaw and one on a proposed new commercial development, and both went well. I'm not sure if there was very much input received from residents on either of those.
One letter that was received afterwards.
That's the extent, yeah. But I think it's important that we do that, that we make the public aware of those kinds of things, and I guess we're legally obligated in terms of the home occupation bylaw and the new development to do so as well. So it's good to get input on those items. Yeah, the rest of it is pretty standard. I just wanted to thank staff and everyone who participated in making the town center available for several hours following the fire on board the Holiday Islander. I think that was a great response by staff to make, on a hot day, to make that area out of the sun available to them so they could collect themselves and be able to wait somewhere where they got permanent accommodation. So I think that was a great response, and it shows how responsive our staff is and how professional they are. So I just want to thank them for doing that. And I'd also like to extend congratulations to Jeremy Pierce, as he's our new Deputy Chief Administrative Officer. Congratulations, Jeremy. And to Jeannie Woodard, our new Director of Infrastructure, and also, I guess, double congratulations on your recent nuptials. And as was said earlier before the meeting started, the gentleman's certainly the lucky one here, eh? Okay, so that's my report. Any questions on my report? No? Okay, we'll now move on to Chief Administrative Officer report, and our regular, Deputy CAO, Jeremy Pierce, will give that report. Our permanent CAO, Jeremy Crosby, is away on holidays and will be back next week.
Thanks. Our regular CAO, our CAO, Jeremy Crosby, is, as you mentioned, out on well-deserved couple of weeks of vacation. It's been I know, a busy 7 months for him since he took over the new position, and just looking at his report that is included in the council package, how extensive his month is in terms of meetings and that sort of thing. And I just know in my new capacity, I'm hopeful to take some of those responsibilities and burdens off him and allow him to focus on some different things. But a few things that he asked me to highlight were his a few meetings with charitable organizations, Gifts of the Hearts and Cities of Peace earlier this month, and also some regular important meetings, the Capital Area Transit, in regards to how those things will progress in the future in terms of transit, because as I think we mentioned at the last meeting, the numbers are on the rise, or projections are on the rise for growth in that capacity. It's a file that he's been working on extensively. Community campus meetings, I think we'll get into that later in one of the reports, but we did have a positive meeting yesterday with the province, DOTI, the group that's responsible for building the school, and the various consultants. So I think we're making progress on the community campus, so that's positive. And also, Jeremy wanted to highlight a recent meeting with the CADC in regards to the Waterfront Park Boardwalk project, which will be another boom for our community going forward.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that on my report. It was a great meeting. Jeannie Woodard was there as well, our Director of Infrastructure, and I think, and Blois, our Minister Blois Thompson was there, as well as Mayor of Charlottetown and representatives from Cornwall. And I think we made the point pretty well that there's a great opportunity for CADC, for us and CADC, for our town and CADC to work together to achieve some good goals, some great goals for the region and for the island with regard to making our waterfront a tourist destination, and as well in our development of our community campus, on the development of the business park, further development of the business park. There's a great opportunity there to create employment and more business and more industry for the whole eastern part of the province. So I think that's a really a win-win and it's a great win-win opportunity for both parties. Absolutely,
they're a great asset. They have tons of leadership and experience in regards to all the fields you mentioned, and they're certainly a resource that we should tap into on a more regular basis.
And the other item that we discussed was the opportunity to make residents feel more at home by providing more recreational opportunities that they have back in their home countries. by further development of the recreational aspect of the community campus and a recreational complex. So I think all those discussions went over pretty well, and it was good to have Minister Blaise Thompson there in the room as well. Thank you. Any questions for Jeremy on his report? Okay, thank you for your report, Jeremy.
So does CADC, why is Minister Blaise Thompson there? Does CADC fall under?
Yeah, there's been a cabinet shuffle, and I believe he now
Oh,
has
yeah.
responsibility for, I think Minister McKay has
That's
moved
right.
on to
Okay.
housing, and Minister Blaise Thompson is now responsible for economic development.
That's right, I was wondering why he was there. It didn't make sense, but okay, now it does.
Yeah. No, we had a great discussion. He was great to, very receptive to some of the discussion we had, so. Okay, that's, now we go to item 9, Safety Services. I'll ask Chair of Safety Services, Councillor Derek Smith, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following Safety Services report under Section 9. The Health and Safety Committee, or the Safety Services Committee, did not have a meeting in the past month, so therefore there's nothing to report there. Street lights, nothing to report on that end also. We'll go right on to the 9C, which is the RCMP report. Now, before we get into the numbers, I'd like to pass on the following points. There is a new speed sign on the Quebec Road by Camp Gemjoff. This area was properly signed, but we can keep a track of the speeds now in that area and put enforcement down there if so needed. There's also a new crosswalk on the Kinloch and Quebec Road for people to use the crosswalks to go to the beach and other areas. Emergency center was set up in the town hall for the Holiday Inn passengers or Holiday Island passengers. As previously mentioned by the mayor, we do have a plan in place, and it seemed to have worked out well for us this time. The next 3 points are not in your report, and we go as stated. Number 1, we had a resident email us in regards to what our protocol would be within the town if we had a serious incident by a person doing harm to our citizens. I passed this on to Corporal Lutley, who made contact with the complainant. He gave him an in-depth email, and everything seems to be okay. Mike, do you want to comment on that at all? That was the gentleman who wrote us about our plans.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, his concern was that just some highlights that have been in the media lately regarding the inquiry from the Portapique mass shooting. So he was concerned that if a similar incident had happened here in PEI, being someone that doesn't have a lot of technology in his home and learning that a lot of the information that was disseminated at that time was through like Twitter, social media and stuff, he would not have access to that. So his concern was if something happened here in PEI, how would the message get to him? And I just responded to his message and wanted to let him know that he's not the only one that's concerned about that. After the inquiry, there was recommendations that were made to create a more standardized process for alerting the public. PEI Emergency Management Office created what we know now as PEI Alert Ready, which is a system and a process for alerting the public in times of urgent, when there's something urgent that we need to get out to the public. And it's basically, once it's initiated, alerts are disseminated across communication platforms, including TV, radio, the wireless network, and social media. So it's got a way better chance of reaching everyone out there. So instead of just Twitter and social media, now we're getting it out through all communication platforms. So, and I think he was pretty happy to hear that. So, yeah.
And as will the public will be tonight.
Yeah.
All right, then, incident number 2. We've had quite an increase in bicycle thefts within the town. And one of our Constable Haig, took it upon himself to make a foot patrol 4 o'clock in the morning in the town of Stratford in a certain area to check vehicles. You want to go over that one for us?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, there was quite a large increase in the month of June and July with regard to bicycle thefts. We believe that at this point it was related to some people that were tenting in some wooded areas off the Confederation Trail here in Stratford. We put a stop to that, and since that time, we have had a decrease in thefts. Actually, we haven't had any, I believe, since that time. A lot of them were concentrated around the Ducks Landing and around the town center here, actually. But about a week ago, on a Saturday night at about 3 o'clock in the morning, Constable Haight had made a foot patrol through a bunch of the parking lots in Ducks Landing along the Confederation Trail. And during that time, he was actually looking as well at the same time checking vehicles, and any vehicle that was unlocked, he left a notice on their windshield under the wiper that was basically informing them that their vehicle was unlocked, you've been checked by the RCMP, and in the future, you may want to consider to lock your vehicle to ensure that you're not going to be victimized by a theft. So just kind of one of those things to help, a crime prevention initiative to hopefully help prevent future thefts from vehicles. So. And he took that initiative upon himself to do it, and I believe little things like that really go a long way sometimes, so, yeah.
Well, I just pass on to me my thanks for doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good community police.
Yeah,
policing.
I'll add to that too, actually, just quickly, a little story. Constable Haight, actually yesterday, he partnered with What's the Scoop ice cream shop here in Stratford, and he was able to form a partnership with them where they're gonna give us 70 free ice cream coupons. And each of the 7 constables in Stratford are gonna have 10 of them, and they'll keep them in the police car, and when they're patrolling out in the community and they see a young person that's doing something good, whether they're wearing their helmet on their bike or they're using the crosswalk and the flag and the lights, they're gonna hand out a free ice cream to them. So, yeah, so that's another great little initiative to try to make sure the youth are everything, good
does-
crime prevention and
It doesn't refer
initiative.
to counselors, though.
No,
Conflict of interest.
yeah.
And last one, some good news and some bad news. We've had 2 RCMP officers in the Stratford office being transferred. Constable McConnell is going back out to our hometown of Montague, and Constable Lorenz Saunders is moving on. Constable Saunders has done an excellent job in the town of Stratford through his work commitments and patrolling. He will be missed. I wish him all the best in his future endeavors, but he will be missed. 2 new officers, I understand. Can you give us a brief background without giving names?
So both Constable Sanders and McConnell are both set to leave at the end of this month. Constable Sanders is moving on to traffic enforcement or the provincial enforcement unit, so he's still probably going to be seen driving in a police car in the town of Stratford as well as other parts of the island, but he's going to be more focused on traffic initiatives throughout the island, so he's pretty happy about that. So replacing him is going to be Constable John Russell from the Maypoint office. Constable Russell's he's pretty seasoned. He's got probably 16, 17 years service with the RCMP, and he's actually the former principal at Bluefield High School, so he's got a lot of good experience there that he's going to bring on board with us. So, and replacing Constable McConnell or Sanders, I believe, is going to be Constable Dave No from the Montague detachment. So Constable No's visible minority here, Asian descent, and he's a Stratford resident as well. So he's pretty happy about that.
So I believe he's from Vietnam?
Well, his parents are originally from Vietnam. He immigrated here a long time ago,
okay.
when he was young, yeah.
And I understand some minorities seen him within the town, were quite excited to see a...
Yeah, it's a bit of a story. He worked here about 2-3 weeks ago now. I was actually working with him. It was an overtime shift that he worked with us, and the following day I was working and I was patrolling through the Sobeys parking lot, and I had an Asian person wave me down. Him and his wife were there, and they just wanted to express some pleasure in seeing an Asian male driving an RCMP police vehicle in the town of Stratford. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's excellent. Okay, so we'll move on to statistics numbers. Number of tickets or SOTs for the month, 56. Out of that, I'm pleased to announce that out of the 56, there's only 10 speeding tickets. So that means people are slowing down. Great. Seatbelt tickets were 11. That was a little disappointing. Seatbelts do save lives. Please wear them. Let's see, what else do we have here? Everything else seems to be normal except for the theft of bicycles, which were covered already. We have to understand that bicycle use is way up right across the province. And with the rebate program and the new electric bikes coming in, they're prime targets to being stolen. So we're asking people that when you buy a new bike, copy their serial number, take a picture, keep it on file. It really helps us when we find a bike. And 69 NEC checks done for the month of July. So we'll open the floor to the RCMP officers for any questions.
I have one small question, not directly to Corporal Udley, it's just directly, I see the last couple of months, the numbers are really, really good. The numbers, the last is $14,880 generated, and this is probably my fourth year, oh, it is my fourth year term as council, and we don't know our cost share with the province. I know we pay our 70/30. I know other departments, Charlottetown, Summerside Police Department, Kensington Department, they get their share. I'm just wondering, after 4 years, can we find out, I mean, the men and ladies doing a great job, they're generating month by month big numbers, and with the rising cost of policing and with their last contract settled and so on, I mean, I know probably Jeremy couldn't answer the question tonight maybe, but maybe we could put this off and have an answer here next council meeting. It's sort of, other municipalities policed by the RCMP, do they get a cost share? Do they get something? I know we're paying our 30% and our 70%. 70% and the 30% there. So it's always, I mean, if the men and ladies are doing the work and getting those numbers for us, I mean, we want a piece of the pie. We want that we want this for the town's budget, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that it's with the Provincial Department of Justice,
Yeah.
and we've had real difficulty getting this one resolved. And I know that Jeremy Crosby's been working, and Kim have been
Yeah.
working diligently with the province. But ultimately, the ball is in their court, and I know what you're saying. We need to do a reconciliation between the number of tickets written and the
Yeah.
amount of money we receive every year.
That's right.
And we don't get that, and we've been trying to get that. I've been trying to, even before you were on council, I was asking that question as well, and it seems impossible to get that done. And I'm not sure what the problem is, whether it's a lower priority and there's a lot of work in that area, or whether it's there's something else. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but I think ultimately we're going to have a meeting with the Minister of Justice, and if it escalates, if we continue not to get an answer or a satisfactory answer, I think we need to escalate it and get it to the point where we can get an answer and get this reconciliation done between what's written, what we should be getting on paper, and what we are getting.
And like, I learned with councils over the 4 years, when you have an agreement, you can't break the agreement. The province has agreement with us, municipality, right? Such and such. So
Yeah.
it's black and white, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. And if the men and ladies, if the RCMP are writing, doing their work and everything else, and we should be getting a small piece of it. I mean, it pays for some of the stuff, the rising costs and so on, you know what I mean? And with the other stuff that we have, right?
Yeah, I think it's also, we've been discussing it with FPEIM, with the Federation of PEI Municipalities, because it's not only a problem with our municipality, I understand it's a problem with other municipalities as well.
Yeah.
So we really need to get together and find out what can be done about this and get it fixed.
Yeah, I know our revenue is probably around $60,000 or $70,000 we look at, but probably we might be over this year, Gail, but I mean, if we can grow on that, and take that back into our budget, it's, it's a win-win for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just recap here. Number one, your point is well taken. However, the main purpose of policing is policing. It's not a cash revenue system here. But I think what you mean to say is that all the money we gather through ticket writing will be going back into law enforcement efforts and programs like cameras and more police officers and stuff like that. Every little bit helps us. So we can get more money to put back into policing within the town. That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
And,
It's not
but
only-
the main thing is, we come a long way for visibility, officers on the road, and lights flashing, and that goes a long, long way with our community.
Corporal Lively staff's doing their part, and like wanna, push, get our part down here and
Yeah.
give this back to the residents. And I know, like in Pei Alert Drive, the fines are Darren would know, $12,000, $1,200. I mean, and we know we catch some Pei Alert drivers here monthly, so big, big payouts there.
I don't think we get criminal code.
Okay.
We don't get criminal code
Okay, their question's answered then.
fines. That's
Yeah.
my understanding.
No, we don't.
But anyways, it's just somebody to walk from here, go down to the Department of Justice there and see the Minister of Justice, and,
Yeah.
talk to her, I guess.
Well, we'll follow that up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Do we have any more questions for the RCMP or Policing Matters? All right then. Thank you, Corporal.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Corporal Utley.
We'll move on to 9D, Humane Society Report. The numbers are pretty standard for the month again, and unless we have any questions, we'll move on. Haven't heard none. Now, we'll move on to Transit Report. Some excellent news this month. Apparently, the pandemic is behind us, and Stratford has recorded its second highest ridership month in the history of transit in the town. There's only 1 month, October 2019, that broke this record. So the numbers are really, really starting to climb. Now, there's a number of factors in this. Information about our transit system within the town, the cost of gasoline, the cost of parking, whatever. But the provincial government also initiated a transit system across the island, and it was well advertised. And when that is advertised, we get noticed. So I think that is also a factor. Having said that, we've had inquiries in regards to a taxi or an on-demand service within the town. But before we go ahead with that, we have to understand that cost will be a factor. And transit is becoming more and more a transportation system that's being used. So the numbers are there. They're really starting to climb. We're getting inquiries from the public in regards to on-demand or a taxi service. So we're starting to move ahead with the transit system. So unless we have any questions on that? Okay, lastly, fire company. We have the report there from the fire chief in regards to the last couple of months' calls. Very briefly, there's nothing outstanding in regards to June or July, except for the Wood Islands Holiday Island fire. So, on the 22nd of July, 11:44, we were called to respond to the Wood Islands area in regards to a fire upon the boat, the ferry. We had truck number 7 and truck number 5 respond. I believe one of the trucks took the boat with it also, Kevin, so that's it. Truck number 5 was responded to Vernon River for mutual aid to cover off their area in case of a fire, and that was later dispatched to the Wood Islands. And on Sunday, we were also asked to take down the ladder truck to Wood Islands for to help out with the ongoing fire. So there's 13 members at the scene. Trucks number 7 with a boat, truck number 5, truck number 11, and truck number 3 were at the Wood Islands area. I believe the chief fire officer of PEI was in charge of the scene, Dave Rossiter, and there was many, many fire companies from the Kings County area responded to that area. It was a large fire with a large turnout of equipment. So if we have any questions on that, we have the fire chief here. And if not, we can move on.
I guess we have an ops plan if something drastic like that happens 45 minutes away, that if something happens here, we're looked after.
I believe Charlottetown is asked to cover us, but it wasn't necessary this time, was it, Kevin?
There is mutual aid back up to, Station 2 was put on standby, but you can see, we had 13 members out of the 47, so we still had full support, a full complement of firefighters within the town here as well, so it doesn't take away from that.
Okay, that's good. The mutual aid thing is very good. Every community has it, so we're helping each other out. Yeah.
Yeah, there was 17 departments in total involved in the incident.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then. So, that is basically it. Oh, we have a new recruitment drive, 14th of September, coming up next month for more members to join the fire department. So that's well advertised within the town, but we just want to put it out to the public if you're interested. It's an information session again, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be an information session. Drop over to the fire department, and they will talk to you about what happens, what goes on, and what's entailed in regards to training. So, just to let the public know. And if we have no more questions about the fire department, that'll be my report.
Okay, no questions? Thank you for your report, Councillor Smith. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 10, Recreation, Culture, and Events. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Steve Gallant, to give his report.
Yep. Thank you, Your Worship. July's report, a very hot month, we do say, as recreation. There's some, and from there, Stratford Youth Center and Council, after 2 years of planning and COVID delays, the youth center members were finally able to enjoy their annual trip. Members of Youth Center were able to participate in the planning and attend an annual trip, providing their participation in fundraising and volunteer throughout this year. This year, 11 youth traveled to Quebec City and Toronto under the supervision of Dwayne Pino, or two staff employees, Dwayne Pino and Rachel Arsenault. From all accounts, it was a wonderful experience, and thank you to our youth center members for their volunteerism and fundraising efforts. On day one, there was Friday, July 29th, they were in Quebec City, the old Quebec and Montmorency Falls, and then Saturday, July 30th, they were in Toronto shopping, and on 31st, with a Blue Jays game against downtown against the Tigers, Detroit Tigers. Then Monday, August the 1st, Toronto, Canada's Wonderland, and then Tuesday, August 2nd, they were in Quebec City, and then 3rd of August, they're in Moncton, and it was great. It's great to see this happen, and Dwayne and Rachel, there's big responsibility on their part, taking the youth down these places and so on. But it's great that they stepped up, and it was an overall great effort by everybody there. It was just great to see, and after 2 years delay and so on, and go on a trip. I remember when I was a young fellow years ago, you go on a trip, you really enjoyed it. Sort of thank you, right? And anyway, the events, the Stratford Summer, as always, the movie series continues to be offered on every second Tuesday evening night in the summer. On Kento was hosted last evening with a large crowd. The Young at Heart for seniors hosted a performance of Fascinating Ladies at Cotton Park on July 16th. A crowd of 50 people attended the free performance. The programs this summer programs are all entering in the second half of their respective seasons. The town is proud to have offered a variety of introduction to sport type programs to allow young children their first foray in organized recreation programs. Summer camp / under 4 soccer, introduction to sports. Our capital projects, several capital projects are currently underway with additional projects slated for the fall. The construction and installation of the garbage boxes along Stratford AT trails, the installation of playground at Spruce Grove Park, the installation of playground at Strawberry Hill Park, the installation of garden and seating area at Foxwood Parks, the replacement of gazebo with the Butterfly Gardens at Cotton Park on Bunbury Road, new safety netting at Bunbury Field, and the installation of new soccer shelters at the soccer complex. So it's a busy summer, especially with the capital projects and some of the stuff that really needed. I know, talking with Jeremy today, of some of the playgrounds with the outer boxes and so on, with the 4x4s, and a lot of positive comments on it, and great work done by our recreation staff and the maintenance department. Killing this. And the sports fields and open spaces, minor sports such as soccer, softball, baseball, and lacrosse are entering their final month of summer competition. It's been a great summer for weather and field conditions. The town looks forward to potential future opportunities in the waterfront with work progression on infilling the former wastewater lagoons. The park should transition into being a year-round destination for residents and visitors. And after transportation, the town we welcome several new trails within the community this year, most promptly with the addition of the active transportation lane along the Trans-Canada Highway that bisects the community. This portion of trail will welcome addition that will connect the community from the Stratford Emergency Center to the Hillsborough Bridge. So with the waterfront and active transportation there supported by the provincial government, and then the roundabout, those areas, it's just fantastic news. It's just with the trails coming up there, that area has been dark for so many years. I always talked about it from the SO to Sobeys. It's all positive, and with the it's for the trails and so on attached to their town. And another thing talked about the water park was I was talking earlier to Councillors Smith and McDonald how busy it was, like 200 kids a day at the park over here, splash pad, and then I just mentioned to Jeremy, maybe down the road, if we get a recreational complex, we could add that to our agenda there. And the skate park was busy, and the splash pad. The kids were over there. I was over there a couple times talking to. They're all in. One day there was a field trip, and all 30 kids with blue shirts on, and they're ready to go, and they had a ball there. So it's great to see. And then with the skateboard park, it was a great addition there. So. And anyways, it's like we got 200 people a day, and probably next year we probably look at different things for heat. I talked earlier for covering in the heat for people to with lawn chairs and so on, parents and so on. But anyways, and that's it. And I want to congratulations my Director of Recreation, Jeremy, for getting his promotion there to a deputy CEO, and well deserved. And I've been working the last 4 years with Jerry, and we had it was great. Really, hopefully have a great relationship with him. We get along pretty good, and it's nice to see him take the next step. And I know one thing about Jeremy, it's all about the town. So it's a great move by our town. So and congratulations, Jeannie Woodward. And then Emily, and your congratulations, and also the new CEO, Jeremy Crosby, and I'm always a big supporter of promoting within, and if they're qualified and they work hard, promote within. So anyways, you got 3 of them there from years ago. Well, Steve, you were here with Jeremy Crosby, deputy CEO, moved up CEO, and anyway, it was good. Anyways, that's the end of Recreation Department.
Okay, thank you for your report, Councillor Gallant.
Yep.
Any questions for Councillor Gallant? Any comments?
I'd just make one comment. I do like the movie night. How well is that attended?
Probably depends on the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie night is, it's a good addition to the town. There was roughly 45, I believe, here last night, but we've received emails to see if there's any way we can extend it throughout the fall and winter portions of the month, and that was actually a discussion that was had today, circulated via email. Wendy's involved with that as well. But the first night was almost 100 kids. We had one night where we had an older demographic, or a Marvel's movie, or Avengers movie, sorry, that was for an older demographic. Probably didn't go over so well, slightly over 20 individuals. But I think we're starting to realize our demographic is somewhere between the age of 6 and 12 years old, that sort of thing. And when you have that demographic, and definitely last night's weather probably helped us. We have had a couple of movie nights where we've been 30 degrees, but that might have helped us as well because kids like to get out of the weather as well. But it is probably something we'll continue to look at providing for our residents.
Would the town, the recreation department, consider pre-teenage dances for the youths in the town hall? Once a month, or like the movie nights? Have some music for the kids and let them dance in the gym a little bit?
Yeah, that was something that the town has put on prior to my time. I'm not sure if it was the youth center or it was our recreation department. It is something that Dwayne Pino has talked about at the new emergency services center. It was something that was discussed prior to COVID. Hasn't been discussed so much recently, but it's probably something we can put back on our agenda.
Yeah, it'd be nice for the younger people that, from 7 till 9, so timeline.
Maybe it could be referred to the Recreation Committee for
absolutely.
discussion,
Yeah,
recommendation.
okay. Thank you.
Just a couple of comments that I have. First of all, I think the most important thing, I look forward to the infrastructure report about the waterfront. It looks like it's getting finalized, and it's looking good there. So I look forward to the report on that. Just a couple of small comments. One about the garbage boxes that are being constructed. I really welcome that. I think that's badly needed in our town, more garbage receptacles in different locations. So that'll be welcomed by, I think, most residents, and even more are needed. I know there's a lot of, I always get asked about that. I often get asked about, more garbage receptacles and that sort of thing. And the other thing is, whatever's happening with regard to the skate park, we haven't had any complaints of any issues there. I think the cameras are working, and I think whatever's being done to monitor that space is really good. So really appreciate that. I know previous summers we've had some difficulties there, and maybe a couple of bad actors and that sort of thing. But I think this year it's knock on wood, it's turning out pretty well. It's working well.
And Councillor Glant mentioned it earlier on, the skate park has been a wonderful addition. I probably would have been one of the skeptics who thought, it might have turned out like other skate parks in other communities with a lot of graffiti and that sort of thing. We had one incident where we're fortunate, as you mentioned, we have cameras on there. We're able to, through the RCMP, identify the individual. He was quick to make amends by coming and cleaning the property himself and being involved, and is now working with our Arts and Culture Department on other possible projects within the community. So I think that's good. The water park the splash pad's been a wonderful addition. That I really think possibly in time another location for possibly both of those would be the community campus. Something we can look forward to. The garbage boxes. They were kind of tackled from a point of view to help the aesthetics instead of a 45-gallon drum being on our AT trails and on our roads and in our parks, that sort of thing. The wooden box it lends to that as well. Our garbage cans regularly get tipped over, and whether it be from kids trying to be funny or animals or whatever it may be, and just adds to the unnecessary work that our maintenance staff have to do. But also, it's I really think a wonderful project that we were able to partner with the Reach Foundation, a local organization that helps individuals around our community, and it gives them an opportunity to learn a trade, and they're the ones that are building these boxes. We have 10 out already, and then they just reached out with another 10 that are now available. So that's a project that we started this year, and we'll hope to continue next year and get that through all our parks and our trails and on all our networks around town where we have that sort of thing. So it is one thing. Garbage pickup is something that we do receive regular calls on. It's impossible to stay on top of, but we do our best.
Thank you. There's just a couple of things about, I just want to ask one thing about the benches. Just wondering if there's, I know it's on our plan and it's in our budget, just wonder if there's any progress with regard to sitting areas for, especially, I know it's been discussed for people that are maybe of a certain age or whatever, that they need places to rest and that sort of thing. Any progress on that front?
It is in our work plan. It's something that you'll see 6 benches go out around the community. I unfortunately don't have the list, but McKinnon Drive, Glen Stewart Drive, up just past the entrance of Fox Meadow, where there's a bus stop just in that wooded area. Fullerton's will receive a couple. That's 5. I'm trying to draw a blank on where the 6th one would be, but even the lookout that was added through the infrastructure department down on Kepik Beach, I travel that road regularly, and you see people there every day, and so that's positive to see people out and about.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great lookout. Thank you. Thanks very much.
I'd just like to make a comment. I think Councillor Gallant was the driving force behind this skateboard park, and she worked hard to get that there. I think she raised money through donation. Councillor McDonald, I mean, not Gallant. Sorry. And Councillor McDonald worked hard on that, and I was a little skeptical too at first. I wasn't supporting it at first. I just didn't see it, and we were 15 minutes from one in Charlottetown. But I drive by it quite a bit at different times of the week, and there's always someone there using that, and I think it's a great addition to the town. And I actually believe that it's gone over so well that down the road, if we can add to it, then that's something we should look at in our budget down the road if we see ourselves free to have a few dollars because, you know, I walk around the park sometime and I see the use there and you see the use here. So it's a great addition. And, yeah, so I think down the road, if we can, you know, add to that park, something to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And even the splash pad, it's, you know, sort of like Jeremy talked about earlier, adding that, and families coming out, like, there's groups of families, Gary, and they bring their lunch and so on, and people that can't afford to go to the beach or go to other places or just want to lounge there for the day, it's great facility for them, and looking after residents that way.
I just want to make one additional comment and go to Councillor Smith in regards to ridership and the transit. I live up in Stonington subdivision, and on 3 different occasions already this year, there's a bus stop right on the Kinloch Road that turns up Southampton, or up Stonington, sorry, on 3 different occasions. It was nice to see people getting off the bus, getting ready to walk down the hill to the beach. They had all their beach attire and everything with them. That's not anything that I've seen in the 9 previous years that I was a resident there. But it is, the ridership has definitely increased. You can see it. But, you know, those are people from outside our community who are using the public transit to come into our community. So just, you know, it was good to see those individuals going. And also had another individual come back and looking about bus times, when the bus may come back, because he was going back to Charlottetown from being on the, at the beach. So it's good to see our ridership increasing.
I have a small comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted, kind of on a personal note there, I want to thank Dwayne Pino and Rachel Arsenault for taking those 11 youth center members to Quebec City and Canada's Wonderland and Toronto Blue Jays game. My granddaughter was one of those 11. And I just think it's an excellent experience for those kids to have, and just memories that will last a lifetime. That's right, exactly. And I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but 2 days after she got home, she scored her first home run. So, thank you for making that happen.
Great. Thank you. Okay, thanks for your report, Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology, and I'll ask Councillor McDonald to give her report.
Thank you, Richard. So the report's in your package. Kim O'Connell, who's our Director of Finance, is off on a well-deserved vacation there this week. We have Daniel Zhang to help us with any questions that might arise. But in the past month, the auditors have now sent their draft statements into the town. So the staff have been currently working on them the last couple of weeks. They'll be setting up a meeting with the auditors later in this month, and a couple of the councillors will be invited to sit in on that, and then it'll be going to Finance Committee and then to Council. We're working on revising the tourism levy based on comments that were received from the Finance Committee at our last meeting. And we had a virtual meeting with Switch to discuss future options there. They are also working on gathering information on affordable housing. And they had a virtual demonstration with Town Suite on the new 311 service request module. And they're researching what other municipalities are using for their municipal software to see how it compares to ours. And they're gathering information with working on the future lease with Public Schools Branch. And of course, they're extremely busy and also trying to enjoy some summer vacation as well. So the Finance and Technology Committee met on July 19th. Had a bit of a longer meeting this time. We actually really delved into our tourism levy bylaw, kind of went over it word by word sort of thing, and suggested several changes to the bylaws. So Kim took that under advisement, and we'll be bringing it back next month to our committee for another review of it. Revenue sharing, we discussed that. We're hoping that, or we're planning that we are going to discuss it further with John Dewey of FPIM to ask him to forward a letter to the province asking for an update on the file. We haven't met for about a month and a half on that subject. So under new business, we talked about the canoe procurement, and so Kim and her staff are working kind of with the City of Charlottetown to see how they're getting along with it. It's something that FPIM also introduced, and we're all we're all members of it and can take advantage of it, but we're not obligated, sort of thing. And we'd be still using local vendors.
If I could just
Certainly, go ahead.
interrupt for a second, I
Yeah.
just think it's important that anyone listening, we're not buying a canoe, we're using a new procurement vehicle
That's right.
for getting
Purchases.
purchases
Yeah.
made, and it's called, the acronym is CANOE.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
That's correct. And I'm not exactly sure what that stands for either, but yes. So, and they're based out of West, sort of thing, yeah. So FPIM has been involved for about 2 years with them. And we also talked about the affordable housing, the property tax rebate, and we went over the income statements, and we went over the donations, and we got some financial statements, one from Pat and the Elephant, and the other from the Crossroads Fire Company report as of the end of December 2021. So we plan to have a meeting August 16th, but we really wanted to discuss the auditor's report, so it wasn't quite ready for them next week, so we're going to have it in September. So our income statements are in your package as well. For revenue for the town, we're up 0.5%, and the expenses, we are down 7%. It's kind of a snapshot of the month as it sits right now. Everything's looking reasonable. And under the Stratford utility, it's down 3.6% for revenue, and expenses are down 4.1%. So kind of fairly even there as well. So that's my report, Your Worship, and if anyone has any questions, myself or Daniel will try to answer them.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Gallant? I just had one question about financial statements. I just wondered if we've received the financial statement for the Pownell Sports Centre.
Not to my knowledge, unless, Jeremy, do you want to take that? Okay, and you would have gotten a copy, yeah,
Okay,
so that'd be,
okay, thank you.
we can follow up on that, though.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, thanks. Okay, if there's no questions.
Well, having
oh,
said
sorry,
that in
go ahead.
mind, that very interesting point by the mayor, I noticed that the fire company, we were supposed to have meetings with them in regards to their request, but they haven't stepped forward yet with any timeline?
With regards to the mill rate,
Yeah, mill rate
Yeah.
and/or financing avenues that we can use.
yeah,
I think that I will make contact with the fire board and make sure that they, make sure we're well prepared before budget time this year
right,
in regards
Yeah.
to their request.
yeah, exactly. No, according to, we just haven't received any new items, new meeting dates from them at all. So,
Okay, I'll mention that to them.
yeah, it might be, partly because of this, summer vacation, a lot of people being away and busy with family and that type
Yeah.
of thing. But Kim was going to follow up on that, so,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Councillor McDonald, where does, is our 10-year fiscal plan being kept up to date as we run along? And, because we have our 10-year financial plan that we have in place. I think-
Forecast, yeah.
Or the forecast. And I know Daniel and Kim were working on that. I'm just wondering how up to date it's kept as
Yeah,
decisions are made.
I think
or-
that's something that we'd have to follow up on. My
Yeah.
understanding was in discussing that with CAO Crosby, that it is being kept up to
Okay.
date, because there's a lot of changes with the changes in inflation and.
Yeah, that's
As
what
you
I'm
know,
wondering.
there's three scenarios. There's the optimistic and the pessimistic, and the one we thought at the time would be realistic, so we need to keep adjusting that,
Yep.
Yeah.
those three. And so my understanding is that it is being kept up to date. And I know, Daniel, you may be familiar with it, and maybe you could enlighten us in terms of, and not to put you on the spot, if you prefer, we can follow up at the next meeting.
So based on, according to that question, based on former CAO Robert Hughes' format, I developed or changed that format or modified that format to simplify that format. I think we have not I have not introduced that format to in detail to Jeremy Crosby and Kim to Kim, and we will spend some time in later to totally introduce that format to them, to let them familiar that format, and then can work on that 10 years forecast.
Oh, thank you. I know that you're completely familiar with it, so look forward maybe to having a discussion at a future committee of the whole about, you know, just to respond to Councillor Burridge's question, because I think that's a really important tool in not only our planning process, but in terms of our future councils. You know, that we're looking 10 years ahead in terms of different scenarios. What happens if we, you know, spend this much money on whatever? It has this impact on our finances. So it is a really important tool, and thank you for that question. I think it's important that we follow up on that.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I knew Danielle was doing a lot of work on that, simplifying the format, so that's fantastic. And it probably does come into play probably more at budget time each year, likely, like it's probably an annual review at budget time to plug things in, I'm guessing, but yeah, no, that's great. And then it probably ties in with our asset management system as well, right? Because that's really, that is full life cycle costs on different assets too, so that probably plays a role in looking at our financials long term. So both of those things will be important to Stratford in years to come, for sure.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you,
Yes, thank
Councilor
you.
McDonald. Okay, so no other questions or comments? Thanks again.
Okay.
Okay. We'll now move on to Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask Councillor McDougall to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just having some battery issues if I have to shut down.
Here, do you want to use mine?
No, I'm good for now. If
I got mine ready
if I collapse on, if it collapses on me here, I'll just flip over to Jill's.
Okay.
So our committee met on August the 1st, and we had a really good presentation. The councillors were there, you were there, Your Worship, for the Zoom presentation by Stefan Keebler from Upland, and he made a presentation on the waterfront core area. It was it produced a good discussion amongst the group, and it was an interesting presentation that you know, this is a very important development for our town. So, and everybody that was at the meeting was very much engaged. It's yeah, we're all looking forward to this development taking shape on the waterfront. I have a couple of resolutions here, but I'll highlight the meeting on the 1st. Aside from Stefan's presentation, our highlight of that meeting was certainly the discussion about the home occupation, and we did have a public meeting on July 27th that I chaired, and although there wasn't a presence here, I don't think online we had a presence either, and I just learned tonight from Kevin there that we did only have the one response or letter. I'm not sure what the context of the letter was, but we had the one letter. But that being said, Sarah and Dale have it's become obvious through that meeting or other meetings that they've done a really good job of restructuring this bylaw, amending this bylaw, an important one, and they've put a lot of time into it, both of them. Kevin included. Kevin obviously has oversight on everything, and what they've produced is a good working document that the fruit of their labor, I guess, has been well done, and again, much needed for that particular bylaw. From there, I think we'll go, those are some of the highlights, and I think we can, the building permit summaries and whatnot are contained within the package for everybody to view. As far as that goes, I think it's where we expect, and it's been consistent as far as the amount of permits that we're getting and whatnot. If anybody has any questions, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll continue to our resolutions here.
Just a comment that the building permits seem to be up substantially. They're up from
Are you talking from 2021 to?
2022.
Month to month?
2022, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, they went from 3.5 million to 5.14 million, and on the year-to-date, it went from 28 million to 35 million, so it's a fairly substantial increase year over year. Anyway, I just wanted to make that point. It is a significant progress, and it seems like it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think my point is that we expect, considering what we expect for growth in the town, I think that my point would be that was the expectation.
Yeah.
Of increases of that significance. I don't.
Yeah.
Versus year to year, I expect that it would be the same.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that where we're projected to go in the next few years, that type of increase is I would expect what we expect.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have one question. With the new roundabout going in the Trans-Canada Highway and coming on completion, I had one call from a citizen of the area. He was wondering what exactly is going on and what's going where and stuff like that. Does the Gray Group have a website or a design they can show? So it's on their website, is it not? Now, it's not official. It's just what they hope to build in that area. So the people of the public, if they're interested in what is being proposed, go to the Gray Group and look at that, and they'll get the good plans to what they're hoping to build there. And I must stress that it's not official, it's just what they want. Okay, thank you.
No, the question I had too, Councilor McDougall or Kevin, things look great, like permits, subdivisions, the wants there, like the prices not affect anybody, or maybe, you know, you're hearing now lumber's going down now and next month and so on. What do you think, what's the attitude out there?
I think there's a shortage of labor and materials still. I think
Yeah.
that's a major obstacle that we're seeing in some of the projects we're trying to do ourselves, and we're hearing it, significant delays in people being able to get truss packages and whatnot for homes. They're being told now that they were going to be midsummer, now they're being told like November. They've got foundations in the ground, they can't get roofs on. But I think that's just the trickle-down effect. I might draw your attention in the building permit summary to the row housing and apartment, year to date. We're at $11.2 million year to date this year and $3.9 million this time last year. So that would be directly attributed to the new Concords or Gray Group subdivision off of Bunbury Road and the other subdivision off of Rankin, where we have opened up a number of uses for townhouses and duplexes. There are singles going in there as well, but you'll see our singles are right on track with where they were this time last year, but a significant increase in the other forms of housing, and I think it's shown that we've been short of that type of housing for a number of years, and we understand that Phase 2 of Kelly Heights is proposed to go this year as well, and we already hear that they're potentially 70-some% pre-sold on lots in there. So I think it's just showing that as the cost of everything increases, the demand for different types of housing increases, and it's nice to see some diversity coming into our marketplace. So.
There's nothing, this councillor from Ward 3 has wondered about Mason Road. Can we comment on that, or off Mason?
The subdivision has preliminary approval.
Yeah.
They've moved to full design drawings, so we don't have anything more than the design drawings at this point in time, but I'm anticipated that they're going to go. It is August and they haven't started yet, so I wouldn't anticipate that they would be able to get construction in the ground and get final approval this year, but maybe. It would be late, but they'd be ready. If they do go this year, they'll be ready for next year. There's another couple subdivisions that they're working through the same thing. So it sounds like there's going to be more subdivision activity, more lots brought into the marketplace. So I think the demand is there. It's trying to find people to actually do the work. That's the biggest issue right now. And the materials is a struggle for everybody.
Other question, Foxwoods, with the flowers, instead of the park, Jeremy, or having the flower they developed there? Sorry. All good stuff.
Yeah, Foxwoods is a development that provided 10% allotment for green space, and as part of that, when they had a discussion with their local residents and their view of the sustainable development, they were looking for something a little different than the traditional playground and that sort of thing. So if you're traveling by that area right now, you'll see so a lot of flowers, gardens. There's a little landing area where a future bench will go in, so that you can still see the beach down there from that location. So they're looking for something a little different, and it's a nice addition, I think.
So, Kevin, question, without getting into specific or names, are you guys being approached by developers looking for the future, and what about businesses? Are they making inquiries with the town?
Yeah, we've got fit-up permits that are you know, in-house now for some of the existing commercial space that's vacant, and you know, there's other developments happening on the corner of Jubilee here. We understand that project might get pushed to the spring now, based on timing and costs. But yeah, we have lots of inquiries and whatnot. The people are always looking for space. We're working on the Urban Avenue project with those developers. They're into kind of final design stages and stuff on that. So yeah, there's a lot of activity that involves commercial uses in it, way more than there ever used to be. You know, commercial's much more active now in Stratford than I say it has been for the last number of years.
So it would be fair to say, because of our population growth, businesses are moving here, and because businesses are moving here, more people will move here. So it's a bounce effect.
It's a bit of a back and forth.
Yeah.
With residential growth, you'll generate a certain amount of commercial growth, and with additional commercial growth, you'll generate additional residential growth, and it kind of a pendulum effect. It kind of goes back and forth. So yeah, I think we're seeing that swing.
I expect the high school is going to have an effect also.
Yeah, I think once our population has reached over 10,000 people, it draws a lot of attention to different types of commercial businesses. That's kind of a magic number that they're looking for. So, you know, we don't get a lot of calls from marketing companies anymore like we used to, that we're looking for statistics on a regular basis. They're gone away, and they're going out to their industry people, and they're trying to get them into actual commercial spaces now. It's time for them to locate into a place like this, and you're starting to see the Shoppers Drug Marts and, you know, those type of businesses come in your community.
Good. Thank you.
One other point too is just within the community, but on the waterfront, like the CADC lots a lot of them have sold, and you know, has a big part to do with the waterfront park and the lagoons not being there anymore. Sure. But I think there was like 7 lots there, Kevin. I think 5 are sold, right? So and that's, adjacent to the park, so over in the kind of the commercial side of the waterfront there, on the other side of the shorefront, and up Shepherd Drive, a lot of those lots have been sold now too. So, yeah, lots of action.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thanks. Okay, I believe you have a couple of resolutions there.
Resolution number PH 028-2022 new street name, civic addressing issue, Henry Lane. Whereas the town has received a request from the Department of Justice and Public Safety on April 15th, 2021, to ensure that Henry Lane remains accessible year-round, or to implement an alternative civic address for a section of Henry Lane that is currently not accessible by emergency services vehicles. And whereas a private laneway has been constructed off Spruce Lane to access civic numbers 59 and 71, which used to be accessed via Henry Lane. And whereas the property owners that will be affected by the change have been contacted regarding the civic address change, and will also be sent an additional notification letter before the change is implemented. And whereas 2 requests have been received to name the private laneway of Spruce Lane and have been recommended by the Heritage Subcommittee. Lewis Lane, after Lewis Henry, who owned and farmed the land the original laneway is on, and McLean Lane, after the McLeans, who own the land that the new laneway is constructed over, and owner of civic number 71. Be it resolved that approval be granted to the following street name for the new access that will be off Spruce Lane on PID number 538207, McLean Lane. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed via email poll on July 19th, 2022 and July 22nd, 2022. So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
This is not about renaming streets. This is a safety matter. I believe that emergency vehicles have been called to these addresses, and they could not get to them. So for the health and safety of those people in that area and the whole town, this name change, I will be voting in favor of this name change.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay, and you have, I believe, another resolution, Councillor McDougall?
Yeah, next up, number PH 029-2022 Chen Sun Subdivision Street Name Request. Whereas a new subdivision is to be constructed off the Mason Road, which will contain 2 new public streets, and whereas the Heritage Subcommittee has researched the history of the land being subdivided and are providing the following suggestions. Oliver Way. After Oliver Mason, who lived there roughly 1881 to 1907, Oliver Mason was the oldest child of George and Sophia Mason of Clifton Farm. He married in 1881 and acquired the farm previously owned by Fred Poole. Oliver was a prominent horse dealer, seller, and shipping horses to the United States. In 1907, Oliver was returning to Charlottetown with his horse and sleigh across the new Hillsborough Bridge. In the snowstorm, the horse went over the bridge embankment, and Oliver tried to make it home on foot. He succumbed to the storm and was found the next day. His 2 sons headed west to Alberta, and his widow followed them in 1950. His son Gordon enlisted in the First World War from Alberta and was killed in action. Gertie Gate. After Gertrude Wood, who lived there roughly 1915 to 1978, Caldwell and Gertrude Wood moved to Bunbury with their 2 children, about 1915. They lived in the farmhouse on the property until 1959, at which time they sold the farm to Collins Wood, no relation. Caldwell and Gertie built a small house on the property just across the road from the Bunbury School. Caldwell died in 1960. Mrs. Wood was well known to a generation of children in the neighborhood. Children would go to Miss Wood's door and ring the bell. You would then see Gertie peeking out the kitchen window to see if it was the children. She would come to the door with a tin of maple leaf cookies to give one to each child. Locally, maple leaf cookies were known as Miss Wood's cookies. Be it resolved that approval be granted to the following street names for the new Chen Sun subdivision to be constructed off the Mason Road: Oliver Way and Gertie Gate. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on August 1st, 2022. So moved.
Do I have
I'll
a sec-
second it.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
I'd just like to point out once again, I believe Mr. Kelly was the driving force behind the research. Every name has a meaning behind it within the town for these streets, and I appreciate his effort. It's well thought out and well written. So, yes, I'll be voting in favor.
Any other comments or questions?
No, just great research. I know I live in this area, and with the Mason Farm behind me and Herbie and so on, Herbie's Land, it's great information, you know, that Mr. Kelly, it's great to hear these stories and do the things we're doing here.
Yeah, I think it gives a good context and background to
Yeah.
all the street names.
Some history, a lot of history
They're
here.
not just names, there's something behind them, so that's great.
Uh,
Yeah,
we're-
and our thanks to Doug Kelly, who does a lot of the research, or most of the research on these items. Okay, we have a motion moved and seconded on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
One question I have, Your Worship, does this go on our website, so the families could see some of this, or?
There's like a street database
Yeah.
that they take, and all that history is captured within the database, and that's all on the website.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
So
good.
Kevin
Yeah.
might be able to add to that, but yeah, it's all stored and tracked and accessible.
It's not currently on the website.
Oh, it's not.
It has previously been on the website, and we actually asked people who could help us fill in some of the
Yeah.
history for some of the names we don't have history for, but we do enter the new data into the database, and once we have it populated enough, we're going to add it back onto the website. We currently are working with the Heritage Committee now, and they have an open sourced database that they can go in, and if they have researched themselves that they've done to fill in some of the blanks on some of the history of the existing street names within the community, it's just a matter of trying to get more data populated before it really, we do have all the resolutions and everything are posted on the website, so if anybody does a search for the individual names, you'll find the actual resolution that was written tonight with the history attached to it, so it is easy for people to find that way, but we are tracking it for future, and we do intend to have it that it's going to be a searchable database on the website as well in the future.
It's just nice, I know with the Masons, Alan built that subdivision in behind us now in Birchwoods, and then you see the boys, George and so on. Nice to, if they reflect on this and talk about it in Herbie's Lane and so
Yep.
on, right? Good stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much. It was actually suggested by one of the, during the Kelly Heights, there was questions as to where the names came from, because they sounded, if you just didn't know where the history behind them, they sounded a little bit odd, and when we sent the information to the individuals, they actually came back and said, that's a way more information than I ever expected I was going to be able to find. And then they actually suggested that we should be looking at putting some interpretive panels or something in the park spaces within these subdivisions in the future to tell the story of the actual street names. So it's something the Heritage Committee's taken under consideration as well for future projects.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the planning report. Planning and Heritage report. Thank you very much for your report, Councilor McDougall.
I think we got to vote on it. Do we vote?
Did we not vote? I thought we voted. Did we vote?
Did you vote?
We already voted, yeah.
Did we?
Yeah,
Okay.
We did, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought we were
Throw me off, too.
Okay.
I'm in the bed.
Okay.
Thinking of those maple leaf cookies.
Getting close to supper time, eh?
Yeah, it's close to supper time. They look good.
Okay, I'll now ask Deputy Mayor Clow for the, who chairs the Infrastructure Committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to start by congratulating Jeannie Woodard in getting the position of Director of Infrastructure. I've worked with Jeannie over the last 4 years, I believe, and she's more than qualified to hold that position, and looking forward to working with her. And also, we're in the process of looking for a project manager to replace her, and I understand that will be starting soon, and there is some applications in, and they'll be looking at that. So sooner we get someone in that position, the better.
So it's been posted?
Pardon?
Has that position
I
been
think
posted?
it has been posted, yes.
Oh,
And
good,
we did
good.
get some applications,
news,
and so hopefully it's looking good. So the sooner we get that in place, the better we'll be for the department with the projects that we have before us, you know. So I'd like to start on the waterfront. As you all know, it's beautiful now driving by there and seeing all the topsoil and fill being spread around the site. There was a little issue that came up when they were doing that. They discovered that there's a spring. A spring was discovered in the parkland space that requires a drainage pipe to be installed to convey the water over to the stormwater outfall. So this is something unexpected, and we're looking at hopefully getting that done in the next few weeks or whatever to get that in place before they bring in more topsoil to spread. So that was something that we were not expecting. But also the original maintenance building down there on the site, the paint has finally arrived, and that's going to be painted next week. So it'll be painted to match the new building. So that'll look a little better. And then they'll be putting the topsoil in the hydro seed, and it'll be complete. And hopefully we'll have grass there for the fall. Coles Associates have been awarded the design of the waterfront boardwalk and have begun the field collection data. They expect to have a concept plan ready to review in the next week or two. So that'll be in the process of being done. I also attended the planning meeting when Stefan gave a presentation on deciding guidelines for the waterfront. So it's a lot of good things happening, and that's going to be coming forward, and we'll be hearing more about that down the road. So the waterfront's great, and I'm glad to hear that there's property being sold down there. So things are going to start happening in the next year or two down there, especially when we get that boardwalk and get the lights along there, and it's great. And I turn the TV on every morning for the news, and they have cameras set up there somewhere, and you can see across into Charlottetown, but you do see the park, you know, and Michael Thomas and a lot of stuff there. So it's good. The pond side watershed restoration, the tenders have been issued for the rehabilitation work at the Moores Pond and the wetland on the north side of Stratford Road. A mandatory bidder site meeting was held with 3 contractors attending. Tenders will be received until August 15, with work expected to be completed by the end of September or early October. So it's going to be great to see that done. Like, I'm over at the golf course every day, and everybody's asking me the same question: when's this going to start? And you know, they're looking forward to getting that done and moving on. So the Kepwick Road sidewalk replacement, only 1 bid was received for this work, and was over budget. And the bidder, Earthform Landscaping, and the town are reviewing the scope of work to see if there are any means of savings to bring the cost closer to the budget. We are hoping to negotiate successfully with Earthform Landscaping and have them begin the work later this month. If not, we will re-tender to see if other bidders may respond to our request. So all the tenders are coming in way overpriced, and I think it's the time of year, and they're extremely busy with projects now. So hoping to get that, hoping we're going to be able to work with Earthform, and they're pretty good. So hopefully we'll get that started and finished. Corey's Pump Station upgrades, only 1 bid was received for this project and was significantly over budget, just crazy. In order to proceed, either more funding must be obtained or the scope must be reduced to meet the available budget. As this is a project funded through the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. Discussions are being held with the Infrastructure Secretariat for guidance on how to proceed, and options are being reviewed for finding savings with changes in this project. The 4 main component of this project is scheduled to begin this week. Landmarks will be installing the 4 main along Kinloch Road between Governor's Lane and Flourish Heights. This is anticipated to be completed by the end of October. The community campus site servicing meetings involving the high school design team and our campus servicing design teams have begun. This is critical to coordinate all aspects of the design between both teams and to share information among all involved. Information is still required for Maritime Electric to finalize the design of electrical servicing to the site, and from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure on the road cross-section and intersection at the Bunbury Road to finalize the road design. The province has indicated that they may be prepared to begin construction of the high school in June 2023. That's good news, thereby being the deadline that the road must be constructed to provide access to the site. So we have to get that road in there if that's the intention to get going. So that's all good news. Kinloch Road Multi-Purpose Path, the RFP is being advertised now for design service of the trail, and proposals will be received up to August 19th. Due to the lateness of funding approval, the construction will be pushed to the spring. Tendering the construction in January may be beneficial for a more competitive bidding process. So that's going to be moved ahead. The infrastructure staff have been busy with cutting grass, sports fields, sidewalk maintenance, speed humps, installation, bylaw complaints, sewer system monitoring, water system sampling, water and sewer inspections, and so on. So during the month of July, there were no major sewer or water emergencies, which is good news. So that's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Any questions? Myself or Jeannie will certainly try to answer them.
Any questions for Deputy Mayor Clow?
I just have one thing, not a question, just congratulations, the former councillors, McDonald, Clow, and Steve, you were councillor, now mayor, but getting this waterfront park established from about 8 to 9 years and so on, and then like coming across that bridge now, you see, it looks so terrific. Collaboration with all the governments, everybody get together here and got it done, and then moving forward, and then you don't even think the smell the last 2 or 3 years, there's no smell. And all those commercial businesses around there, it's all positive. McDonald's, Esso, even motel's going to be going up there now soon, in an apartment building. So it's all positive stuff. It's all great stuff. And congratulations, you guys, Gary, Gail, and Steve, moving forward on that. And then our team here continuing on with it. It's a positive thing. And Jill and planning and everybody else is a great thing. And all the stuff going on there, Jill, from Upland and so on, it's going to be, it's exceptional. It's just going to be a wow factor, and it's just all positive. And even with the roundabout now, the walkway up there, there's no smell, everything else. It's all great stuff, and it takes time, but it came together.
Teamwork, Steve.
Yeah.
I think it's a credit to the whole council and staff.
Yeah, and staff, staff.
Working together,
planning and
getting
everything.
stuff done, I think.
Yeah.
And working with relationships with our federal and provincial partners to make something that's beneficial for, not only for our community, but for the whole island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I have a question on, it's not a question, it's more of a comment. So in your report, there's a lot of RFPs that are over budget, right? So, yeah, is there a point where we're looking at pushing those off? Like in one of them, you said that maybe January would be a better time to be putting RFPs out. I mean, I feel for the guys that did put the proposals in, an Earthform or whatever did put the proposal in. But yeah, do we expect there to be more competitive bidding in January versus right now? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but
It's the timing of the year.
yeah.
And we get caught up in that with our funding being delayed.
I
and
know,
We
everything's
get
off.
approvals later in the spring, summer, and by the time we get design done, we're missing the boat, really. The time to get tenders out for contractor pricing is winter,
Yeah.
It's when they're
Yeah.
lining up their work and getting their year scheduled. At this point of the year,
Yeah.
they're full. They've
We're
got their
doing our
workload.
bidding at the
Yeah.
putting RFPs
Yeah.
out at the most expensive time of year,
Yeah.
and that's because the funding, the
yeah.
timing of the funding
So the
is,
schedule of how everything comes through the door, yes.
it's just
Yeah.
too bad, eh?
But
So
the funding can be moved, can be carried over, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So there's no
And-
problem with that. So
But it does seem to put us in a pinch a
It
lot of
does,
times
yeah.
where we are,
We were kind of discussing that we may need to change our train of thought to doing design work in the one capital budget year and then moving the
Yes.
construction to the next so that we can time those
yeah,
tenders
then you might
the
have a
way it
little
will be
bit more.
most beneficial.
Yeah, yeah.
So for the trail, I do think it'll benefit us to tender it in January. We're too late in the year now to get the work done. By
Yeah.
the time the design is done and we get it
Yeah.
out, it would be October anyway, so.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
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 I think that would be a really positive move to really look at the whole process
Yes.
and try to
Yes.
rationalize it, because there's no money in moving them. It just takes longer to get stuff done, but it's affordable and you can get more done for the same, for
Absolutely.
the same money, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to like, control how the feds issue their funding, or like, I know that we don't have much influence there. I get that, but man, they must hear that though, because they end up spending. Everyone ends up spending more money, right?
If they
Because
can.
because of the timing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We're not getting the biggest bang for our buck
And
because
it's
of
just,
that.
it's been so tough, of course, with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
The supply shortages, the work, labor shortages, everything is pushing our prices beyond what we've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And, we're 3 times higher than what our budgets
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
we're just scrambling as to how we can change. We don't want to spend that money, it's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
how can we change the scope and negotiate to come to some kind of reasonable price
Yeah,
that we
that's
can
smart.
proceed
Yeah.
with is the challenge
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, for years, like just sidewalks, I remember back years ago, and they'd be, the funding would come through late, and they were doing sidewalks in November. I
Yeah.
mean, there was snow on the ground, and they'd be, cold, and I remember one day on Georgetown Road, there was 3 guys up there working on the sidewalk, they were freezing, I went down and bought them coffee and took it up, and very appreciative of it, but they were working in the high wind, cold, and snow, putting a sidewalk in. And
So
it was
do-
all because of funding,
And do we just keep going like this, or is there a way to change that system?
well, that's what we'll have to work on, I guess.
Like, is there a way to change that system? And I don't mean to be throwing this out in the middle of the
Yeah.
council
I
meeting,
don't know
but
how we can change the funding, like the provincial and federal.
The timing.
Partners, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what we can do is, like I said, we can separate our design from our construction over 2 years so that we take advantage of getting our tenders out in middle of winter and
So
get the
that
best.
feedback has been given to the other levels of government in years past.
not by myself personally, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it has. It just doesn't change, eh? It's too bad.
it's,
Yeah. Anyway,
But that isn't a topic we could discuss with, the provincial government and with, I don't think the federal government has much flexibility, but in terms of the provincial government's part, like, we could work on that with them, with their capital plan and how it ties into our process as well.
yeah, it's just too bad because, yeah, we could be doing more with the money,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. Yeah.
And because of a timing or a scheduling piece, we're not.
No, that's a good point. We
Yeah.
should look at rationalizing, see what we can do to
Seems to make
improve
sense.
that process. Yeah,
Great discussion to have with them.
Yeah,
Great discussion,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
think, what can they say? It's true. They can't.
Well, it's not just us. It's every other
No, they'd be hearing it
municipality
from
out there,
everywhere.
right? Everyone's doing the same thing. So you start
Everybody's the
adding
same
up
thing.
those 30% overages and imagine, right, what that would add up to infrastructure-wise through communities everywhere,
Because you
right?
can't do anything until you actually get the funding approval, and
That's
the
right.
funding approval often doesn't come through until June or July. and,
Absolutely.
like
So
we're
they
still
have to
we're
change
getting
their
letters.
timing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
so really, it's realistically, if you get funding now, you can't really spend it until next construction season.
Exactly.
Realistically.
That's right, yeah.
Given
Other
that
than the
everybody's got their
design
year-
component. We
because-
proceed with the design component, but we're not spending the
Yeah.
bulk of it because we can't go to construction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, let's revisit that and try to see if
Yeah,
we can
no,
make
that would be
improvements.
great.
It'd be easier on staff too, because you'd be able to, you're not under the gun as much, you're more, it's more measured and
Yes, yeah.
everything
Planned
like
out.
that. Okay, thank you,
You're welcome.
That's my report, George.
thank you. Okay, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor Clow, and thank you, Jeannie. We'll now move on to Committee of the Whole, and we have 2 resolutions, and one, I think, is in the area of sustainability, so I'll ask Councillor Burridge to read the first one, to move the first one, if she would.
Yep. CADC one?
Yeah.
Okay. CW 013, 2022, reappointment of CADC board member representative. Whereas the bylaws of the Charlottetown Area Development Corporation, CADC, require the annual appointment of the corporation's directors at the annual general meeting, and whereas Michael Fleischman is our current representative and has represented us well. And whereas Michael Fleischman is a member of the Town Sustainability Committee and has agreed to continue to serve as the Town of Stratford's representative. Be it resolved that Michael Fleischman be hereby reappointed as the town's representative on the CADC board until the next annual meeting. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole as discussed at a meeting held on July 27th, 2022. So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Thank you. And the next item has to do, I believe it's in the area of safety services, so I'll ask Councillor Derek Smith, to chairs the Safety Services Committee, to move that resolution.
The Town of Stratford Resolution, CW 014-2022, Transit ICIP Fund Application. Whereas the Town of Stratford is a party to an agreement with the City of Charlottetown, Town of Cornwall, and T3 Transit to operate a seamless transit service in the 3 municipalities, and whereas the Town of Stratford supports the application to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, for the Transit Electrification and Fleet Reinforcement Program, which includes $9,526,715 from federal funding, $7,923,557.70 from provincial funding, and $6,322,777.70 as the ultimate recipient contribution, which is cost-shared with the Charlottetown and Cornwall. Whereas the portion of the ICIP funding for these buses and fleet reimbursement is $12,180,300, which includes $4,872,120 from federal funding, $4,059,693.99 from provincial funding, and $3,248,486.01 as the ultimate recipient contribution, which is cost-shared with Charlottetown and Cornwall. And whereas the Town of Stratford shares this part of the ICIP project, new diesel, used diesel, electric buses, and capital reimbursement will be $487,272.90 HST included, as the town covers 15% of the 26.67% paid by the ultimate recipient. Charlottetown will cover 75%, and Cornwall 10% of the ultimate recipient contribution. Whew. Be it resolved that the Town of Stratford supports the application to Investigating in Canada Infrastructure Program as outlined above. Be it further resolved that the application is successful, the contribution of $487,272.90 HST included, be incurred over four financial years, beginning in 2022, 2023, and ending in 2025, 2026 financial year. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Council, Committee as a whole, based on the meeting held on the July 27th, 2022. And I so move that resolution.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any discussion?
This is another prime example of transit growing within the capital area and the province itself. So we are going to electric buses, we are going to diesel buses, we are going to use diesel buses, but the numbers are growing that this stuff is needed. So it's a necessary cost, and this is what we have to do. So funding from the federal and provincial government, along with the towns involved and the city involved, the direction we're going to be taking.
Yeah, I think the question that needs to be answered is why are we investing in diesel buses and refurbishing diesel? And the answer is that we can't get the electric buses right away, and we don't have the infrastructure in place to provide charging and that sort of thing for the electric buses at this point. So part of this investment is for the infrastructure, and part of it is basically a bridge to get us to the point where we'll be having all-electric service, which is our ultimate goal. So any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Okay, I'll ask Councillor Burridge to speak to the sustainability portfolio. I know there's no report, but I know that there is some activity.
Yeah, there was no meeting this month, but I do know on the staff end that there's a lot of work being done on the Community Energy Plan Review, which is a big one for Stratford. We set goals back in 2016, I think it was. So, and it's done through federal programs, so you have milestones. And a milestone is a 5-year review to see where you are on those targets that you set. So there's a lot of work being done on that right now via a summer student, I believe. So quite a intelligent summer student. Everyone seems to be pretty impressed with what he's doing there. So I'll be excited to see that report likely in the fall. And another piece that I know Katie and her team are working on is natural asset inventory. One piece of that would be urban forest and tree canopy, and getting a figure on that within the town, which is a good thing to have. There's a lot of funding out there right now for natural asset protection. There's a view out there in the asset management side that natural assets provide a level of service and cost nothing. So they advocate for you to work with nature in mind, because they provide a level of service just like a truck or a bus does, right? And they cost nothing to do that. They just are naturally there, so take advantage. So there's a lot of funding available for that kind of protection. So I know that they're doing lots of work on that end too. And yeah, I think something that could be front of mind, and sustainability I feel like sustainability creeps into every portfolio here, but there have been heavy rains, and so our ponds haven't looked as healthy as they should, just with the significant rain events. You see a lot of mud in the ponds, but it is good. Sawwig is taking water tests all the time, and everyone's keeping an eye on it. Emails are going out to developers to try to keep sediment control in place. Katie and her team sends those emails out to the developers. And with the pond restoration coming up, that's a key piece. So Gary already spoke to that in the infrastructure side. So the pond restoration projects they're working through those. So that'll be great. So those are just a few key items that I know of on the sustainability side that they're working through. Yeah.
That's
So I'll
great,
end that
thank
there.
you. Thank you for your report. I know that, just anecdotally, and speaking with as you said, a very intelligent summer student, a young Mr. Dudley, he is doing really good work, and he did give me some preliminary results which look really positive, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far. I really look forward to the report in the fall, because I think the energy plan is something that is a yardstick that we set for ourselves back in 2016, and it'll be really good to have now that we've got some years under our belt, and we've got some progress to see how much progress we made and how much remains to be done, and really build on that success. So it's going to be good to see and have that research done.
And I think when we set those targets, I'm reaching, because I was a resident member on that, but I think when we set them so that we felt that they were achievable. Like, you can do stretch goals.
Yeah.
And I think that was the conversation at that time. Do we set a stretch goal, or do we set something where we feel like we would have some success? And I think that's where we ended up. So
It is very ambitious. I believe
it's ambitious, but
it's
it felt
6%.
like it was achievable at that time
Yeah.
relative to other targets that people were proposing. So we'll see. With the town of our growth, it's, you know, you're trying to balance that growth and then bring down the, you know,
But
your
the
GHG
target
emissions.
is 6%
Less than-
saving
yeah.
of what the energy use was in
In-
2016.
Yeah,
And it doesn't take into into account population growth, which it amounts to more than 6% when you consider the
Yeah.
population growth. It is achievable, but it is, and I know we've taken a lot of really positive steps, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see how close we are to that 6%.
and to get people off fossil fuels and get people onto
Yeah.
renewable energy. So, and I think through the PACE program, a lot, you know, that has been
Yeah.
a great success in Stratford. So hopefully we can see the results of that, right? As a
Yeah, and
town.
hopefully we can continue to find a way to continue that program somehow
Mm-hmm.
too. So that's something that I think has moved us quite a ways towards our energy goals. Because just as we don't have a number, but we do have a good means of estimating the use of fossil fuels,
Mm-hmm.
that will be interesting to see how many people convert to things like solar panels and heat pumps through the switch program. And if we're able to continue it somehow, we can even make more progress. So that's, and I guess that's the application and the argument that we've used at this point is build on our success and really try to use it as a lever to get even more success.
Would it be possible to have that young lad give a little presentation at our next COW?
Well, I think
Just
his report, he's planning to have it by September, I believe. So, yeah, at our.
Be
at our
nice to just to
next
see,
committee of the
do
whole, I
16 on,
imagine.
just to see where we are.
Yeah, next committee of the whole.
That's the plan?
Next committee of the whole?
Okay, that's great,
Yeah,
that'd be
so,
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think he's got a report done. It's just a
Yeah.
draft and
Yeah.
just needs some input from, you know,
Yeah,
his boss or, you know, whoever he's reporting to. And then
Sure.
from that point on, it becomes,
yeah,
it'll be circulated to council for comment and
Yeah,
and sort
that's
of
great.
a review. And
Yeah.
and then we'll look at it and approve it. And then hopefully we'll be able to present it at a future council meeting, either September or
Yeah.
October. We'll be able to table it so the public can see it.
yeah, that's
Hopefully.
great.
Is that sort of realistic? Yeah? Thank you. Okay, thank you for your report, Councillor Burridge.
You're welcome.
Just like to point out, in regards to the PACE/SWISH program, great success. We'd love to see more money going into it. However, we see the map, we see all these little dots for Stratford. We've also got to realize about 30% more people put heat pumps in and didn't even use the program. So there's a lot of heat pumps and solar panels going in because of Switch. And because of Switch, a lot of people just don't buy into the program, are just putting them in.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Yeah, just because the money's gone doesn't mean that people aren't
No.
taking advantage of the services, right? There are people that would just, you know, find that money themselves
It's raised
and
the
not need the
awareness.
program. But
Yeah.
yeah, it got them in a system and it got them in a train and it got the assessment done. They're still doing the assessment done. So you kind of get people up off the blocks
Yeah.
and ready to go, right? So there are people that will decide to continue to move forward.
See how much money you can save. And
yeah, yeah.
so even if you don't have the loan
You
money
may
available, you
not
might be
need
able
the
to find it
financing.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I know the contractors are quite pleased because they're busy.
yeah.
It's a great program, and even with the key pumps now, Jill, I guess the provincial government gives you a discount
Yep.
of $1,200, right? So
Yep.
I know I jumped on one of those, and
Yep.
two of those, and, but great work by Darren, and leading that switch program, and we, around the table here, we voted on it, and Robert Hughes is a big support behind it, and, you know, and that's what, you know, successful, very successful, and people jumping on that's great, and hopefully come September, some more money's there, somebody from Mr. King or Mr. Trudeau.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next report is my report, accountability and engagement. There's no meeting been held. We're sort of in suspended status on that as we transition into a new committee, which will take effect probably after the new council is formed to include intergovernmental affairs as well as the accountability and engagement areas. So that'll be probably not for a while, but there is still engagement activity going on. We're still continuing to monitor the town for accountability in terms of the results matter and the stats that feed into that. And I know our engagement policy is being implemented as usual, so there's activity there as well. So that's basically the situation with regard to accountability and engagement. Any questions or comments? Okay, now move to human resources.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time, thank you. Next item is inquiries by members of council. Anything that any councillor would like to inquire about any matter around the town? Okay, we'll move to other committees. Stratford Seniors Committee, Stratford Seniors Complex, Seniors Report, August 2022, Council. Deputy Mayor Clow, I believe you're the chair of that committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. A lot of house cleaning stuff taking place there at the seniors' home. Big thank you to M&M Furniture for the 2 washing machines there broke down, and they're waiting for parts for that. So there's, like I say, 15 units in there, and they put loaners in there. They put 2 machines in there to help them out until the parts come in. So that's a big,
Nice, yeah.
big thing to do, because
That's
they'd be
nice.
running the laundromats, I guess, or to their family, and to get their clothes washed and dry. So it was very, very good of M&M to do that and put that in there. They're working on a tender to hire a firm to help with new replacement plan as required by CMHC, and I believe their contract has expired, and they're just bringing up a new contract. And currently, there's a vacancy in one of the units that's subsidized. It's a subsidized unit that's not located at 26 Mutts Drive. So, like I say, they subsidize 16 units. There's 15 in Mutts Drive, and there's one unit. And so we're in the process right now. They're losing that, I believe, I was told, and they're in the process now of trying to find a place to rent in Stratford that meets CMHC pricing level. So I know Kim and them are working on that now to try to find a spot. And I believe the other spot was on Glen Stewart Drive, the one they had. So that's I believe gone. There's currently 18 people on a waiting list to move in when available. So that's a good sign. So other than that, everything's status quo over there, and it's a great building, great people. Things are good.
So just for the information of people that might be watching this online or on a recording, the waiting list for our facility at Mutts Drive, that's separate from any waiting list that would exist for St. John House. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a different funding model.
Yeah.
The St. John House is a
Totally different, yeah.
privately
Yeah.
run
Privately run.
organization. Yeah.
And we sort of work together. If we have a unit available and they have someone, they work back and forth and say we have a person interested, and if they work good together.
But both facilities
Yeah,
provide
but
assisted
they're
living
separate.
for seniors.
They're both separate, yeah.
But they're separate, yeah. And different models. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is a Community Campus Implementation Committee. I understand you, Councillor Burridge, you had a very successful trip to look at other schools and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I missed the last town council meeting. We toured schools in Nova Scotia with the provincial Stratford High design team. I don't know the formal name of it, but no, it was good. And you got to see what they're doing in Nova Scotia at different levels. There were comparable schools that we walked through that actually had a community side built into it as well, which was interesting. So you'd have the high school, and then there was, the community they built a gym and a facility area right on to the end of the school. So there was a couple of those. There was a couple of schools that had community-owned sports fields around the school. So you got to see how that partnership works. And so, it was a good trip. And we came back, and now we're kicking into gear. So the design is coming along of the school. Gary mentioned a lot in his infrastructure report, but our team here at the town is working hard to get this road built, the spine road built through the campus, which is the first piece. And alignment on the Bunbury end is you know, we're trying to make sure that's done right, I think, for the long term, not a quick fix right now. So potentially trying to align that with the Duffy Road and do it right. So that's taking a little bit more time. But yeah, Jeannie and crew are working hard so that that road is to a point where in the spring, when the high school wants to start moving earth, they have the access they need to get to the site. So things are chugging away there for sure. And you're going to see earth moving soon, so that's exciting. Yeah, so there'll be a RFP go out here in the next little while. Jeannie's smiling. It's that will be for the road, for the spine road through the campus. So that'll be a big one. Yeah, that's a big milestone for this project, no question. So yeah, from the committee's perspective, we haven't met since we adopted the plan. Now it's just kind of it's Jeannie and the team, you know, working together with the provincial representatives and provincial committees to implement the plan as it was adopted. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Great news. Yeah, glad to hear. Glad to see the progress there and things moving ahead. That's going to be a great boon for our community. You know, to have that school there and to have all that infrastructure in place.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces on this one, and always has been, I think, right from the get-go, just even in the land acquisition. But it's still a lot of moving pieces. But you know, our team's doing a good job of handling them. So
I just want to say again how much I appreciate your leadership on this, because it's really, you bring a lot to the table in terms of moving this forward. So thank you for that.
yeah, I'll do what I can. I'm excited about it. I think everyone here is excited about that. So it's going to be a big piece for our community, for sure.
Yeah,
No
thanks.
question.
Thank you.
On your trip, Jill, did you see schools, like high schools and junior schools together?
Yep. Yep. We actually, they had different pieces that they wanted. We even went into an elementary school. Just you see different pieces. So, and different things they want to show us, you know. The team that the province has acquired to do this is fantastic. They're top notch. I think what we're going to get here is going to be fantastic. The architectural team is really good. Yeah, not to say that I haven't worked with another one, so I have no, but this team just seems fantastic to work with. So I'm excited about it.
Good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah, it was province-led. Yeah.
Great news. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for your report, Councilor Burridge. Okay, appointments to the committees. Any appointments to any committees? Jeremy? Any appointments to any of the committees? Any changes? No? Okay. Any proclamations? No? Okay. Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this point?
Perhaps Councilor Smith could just enlighten us on his golf game?
Maybe after the meeting.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just, as Chair of Recreation, I'd like to wish all Stratford athletes who are participating in Niagara Falls right now for Canada Summer Games. And I know ours is coming here in February. And so it's pretty exciting times. And also last week, our Stratford resident Zach McEwen signed a one-way contract with the Philadelphia Flyers. So it's great news for Zach and himself, and it was great news. So.
Yeah, I just got an email about the golf tournament that was sponsored partially through our resident of our community, Juliana McEwen and Zach McEwen, in memory of the late Craig McEwen.
Exactly.
And it was, they raised $93,000, I believe, something.
93,000?
93,000, yeah.
Yeah, and this year, the tournament, was it in Belvedere and
Fox Meadow,
Fox
yeah,
Meadow,
yeah,
which is nice,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great success, and thanks to the counselors who attended and acquitted themselves well, I understand,
Yeah,
behaved themselves.
yeah.
Anyway, thanks a lot. Any other business? If not, I'll call for a motion for adjournment. We're now adjourned. Moved.